Right, I'm just starting to put the throttle valves back on, which is a bit fiddly, but it's relatively straightforward. So we've got the throttle valve, we've got the throttle rod. Put the throttle rod down through the hole in the carb, and then move it along so it hooks. Then we have the needle, the jet needle. We've put new needle jets in, and they're larger. And the chap at AMAL said that maybe need to move the clip back up again, but I'm leaving it down for now because I want it rich. I want a rich running for the first time ever. Right, so then that drops down there, and just make sure that it's seated okay in the bottom. Then we've got the throttle spring, and these are T160s, which are much lighter than the T150s. And if you have a T150, then it's definitely worth getting rid of your T150 springs and all the little collets and things, because you don't really need them, and fitting a T160 springs because they're much lighter. Then generally I put the choke on so that the choke is sort of sticking further away from the top, gives us a bit more working room. And then I slide the choke in its groove. Yeah, and then we're holding the spring back, and we feed it up through the hole in the top of the carb. Yes, we do. Go on. There. Which is a bit stiff. And then what I do anyway, is temporarily just fit the nut, which is we're going to have to take off later, but it just stops the throttle rod pulling back down through the top. Then I make sure that the spring is fully engaged in the top. There you go. You see it throttle valve tried to escape through the top, but because we've got the nut on, it doesn't. So we just check that everything is seated properly. One of the classics is to find out that the needle, that clip on the needle, isn't seated properly. An easy way to double check is just to take the needles and spin them, and if they're loose and they spin, then everything's fine. If they're tight at a slight angle and they won't spin, then it's not seated properly. So once again, what we got? Yeah, just check I've got the right. Yeah, it's all right. That's the old broken throttle valve, so I don't want to use that. So throttle rod rather. Okay, so throttle rod again goes down through the hole. Yes, it does. Move it along so that it engages. Jet needle with its clip down through the hole, either side of the clip, either side of the throttle rod. There we go. Throttle spring, make sure it seats properly on that on the clip. Get the top choke open, feed the choke in, feed the throttle rod up through the hole in the carb top. And temporarily put the nut on. Just to stop it sliding back through, and seat the spring on the throttle top. And there we're done. Yeah. So then we're gonna I'm gonna remove the throttle bar, and we're gonna put the carbs back in. Actually, before I do that, yes, I've still got the pilot jets out, so I'll put those in just while things are out of the way. I'll screw them back in. They just screw back in fully, and then we'll when I've done that, then we'll put the throttle valves back in. Okay, I've put the pilot jets back in. which we took out to clean the carbs, just to check they were clean. Another mistake on my part, I should have put them back in before I put the float chambers on, because with the float chambers off, I can get to those screws with a straight screwdriver. But when they're back on, I had to use my angle screwdriver, so anyway, getting to them, and it took about 5 times longer. Oh well, there we go. Right, let's see how we got. So now we're going to put the try and put the throttle valves back in. Now I did not, it's bad practice, I did not note which throttle valve came out of which carb, because I thought I was going to be changing them. It's not that bad, because they're new. They were 4s, and I changed it for 3.5s, and I changed it for 3s. So they haven't had much use really at all. And they are the anodized. Again, if you get the Premier carbs, then these throttle slides are anodized, and so they don't wear anything like as much as the original alloy ones. Cost a load more, but yeah, much better than the originals. Right, so we're going to put this back in. We've got a little sort of nodule sticking out the side of the throttle valve there, a little lug, and then we've got a notch in the side of the carb body, and obviously they align. The main thing is to try and make sure the needle goes down smoothly into the orifice that is supposed to go into the needle jet, and it's very easy to misalign it, and then you wonder why the thing won't go in. Oh, I don't want to damage the needles. It feels a bit tight. That feels a bit tight in there. But I think it's okay. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think we're going in now. Yeah, I think it's gone. The needle's gone in to the needle jet. But there we go. There. There. Going down. There. Okay. And we'll put the screws in now on the tops, and then what we'll do is, when obviously we've got everything in, then we'll run the carbs, open the carbs like to full throttle, as it were, just to check that they're not sticking at the top, which is what happened when I was riding my Norton Commando a year or so ago. If you watched that, and it was very disconcerting. I opened the throttle full, which I don't always do, but I was on absolutely full throttle, and then closed the throttle, and the throttle stayed wide open because it had stuck at one of them at least had stuck at the top. It wasn't that dangerous, but it was, because it was very disconcerting, and just for a second, for a split second I was thrown before I realized I could pull the clutch in and things were okay. But it was very disconcerting going along, and full throttle, came to a bend, shut the throttle, well, hey, bike's still accelerating. It was just for a split second, literally, but it was scary for that split second. Okay, it's the first one in, so I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to do the same for the next two. Okay, now we're going to put the throttle bar back in and attach the throttle rods to the throttle bar. So I've taken the little nuts that I put on top of the throttle rods, I've taken off, because now the throttle valves are in the carb. They're stopped from going to full extension by hitting the bottom of the carb. So those throttle rods now not in danger of being pulled through. So we've taken the nuts off. Then we're going to put the throttle bar through. This is a new throttle bar, by the way, because I discovered my old one was worn, and it was giving me an uneven lift on the different carbs. Right, so let's have a look. I'm going to move this further over for now, and then I've got my pair of moles, small moles, and I'm going to put them, let's have a look, just, oops, see if this, see, it probably won't work now. So they're closed, but they're not gripping the rod, but they're closed underneath the nipple, if that makes sense. So I can still turn the rod, but without the rod disappearing down, because I want the rod a bit higher now so that I can put the throttle bar on and hopefully screw it through. So that's it. So I line up and then unscrew the throttle rod. I think it's taken now. Yeah, it is. So I can remove my moles and screw that up. There we go. So the throttle rod is coming through the throttle bar now, and so that's in. And I'll do the same now with the others. Might be easier if I remove the. There we go. No, I'm still joined on. I don't make any difference. Right. So do the next one, but this now I've already got the first rod connected. It's a bit more difficult because the throttle bar wants to go down. Try and get the moles underneath the head of that. There we go. So it just holds it up for me. Throttle bar down. Unscrew the throttle rod so it screws up into the throttle bar. Hopefully. Go on. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. And again, yeah, the head's beginning to go on that one, but it's okay. Screw it up so that it comes out of the throttle bar, 1/4 inch or so, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch probably. There we go, and then do the same with the next one, last one. Just hold that in position. I think that's the right place. Yeah, there we go. There. So they're all connected now. All the throttles connected to the throttle bar, so they all go up. You can see from this end. Hey, opening throttle valves. So what we have to do now is adjust them so that they all lift at the same point. Oh, the boss is home. Look busy. So we have to look through this end of the carbs, and what we do is, let's have a look. I wonder if I can put this on. Hello! Yeah, that's a bit better. So we look through this end and videoing, and then we can, and what we're doing is we set them so that each one is exactly at the same point, which is generally so you can just see the bottom of the throttle valve. Okay, and so they need to be synchronized, as we call it. In other words, they're all opening at the same time. Obviously what you don't want to happen is you open the throttle and one throttle valve's opening more than the other, and so on. The extreme of which is what was happening to me, in the fact the left down car wasn't working at all because the throttle rod had snapped. Okay, so what we do is there's lots of different ways. I'll talk about that in a sec. Lots of different ways of trying to ensure that they're all exactly the same, and we'll come on to that in a minute. better go and see the boss.